Governor Rene Pardo acted like my second father, telling me exactly to just keep on coaching. I will tell you when you are going to be fired. So he was that strict, and I appreciated him for that.
Yeah.
Another After Dark episode of 2OT. Ako po si Carlo Pamintuan with Magumar John, and joining us today, three-time PBA Coach of the Year, alternate governor of the Meralco Bolts, and special assistant to the president of the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas, Coach Ryan Gregorio. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much also for inviting me over. It's been a while. I've been watching all your episodes, and I was just waiting for a call-up.
Wow.
Finally, it's happened.
Coach RG,
Yes, sir.
dati akala ko woke up like this ka lang. Ngayon 9:32 PM na. Ganyan pa rin ang datingan natin, coach. Iba talaga, ibang level.
Pinaghandaan ko talaga to dahil alam ko, sigurado ko na naghanda rin kayo eh.
Magu, first time nating magka-guest na may professional na mic at saka may pailaw. First time nangyari yan sa 2OT
I am just future-proofing my house. I mean, I don't think we will be allowed to go to the studio. So it's just making use of whatever equipment, of course, computer, Wi-Fi, lighting system, and microphone. Kasi sometimes, di ba, pag nanonood ka ng ganitong mga live interviews, tapos mahina ilaw, tapos masama yung audio, parang it's irritating. So I'm just putting myself in the situation wherein hopefully maganda yung reception.
Coach, dyan sa taas, from where you are, alam naman natin, proud son of Antipolo ka na ngayon. Kamusta ang last couple of months dyan? Kamusta family? Hopefully everything's good.
Yes, we're all good. My wife, my two kids, okay naman. Believe it or not, it's been over 2 months, and I have not seen beyond what is beyond my subdivision. Nandito lang talaga ako sa bahay. Ang pinakamalayo ko is just yung street right in front of me. And I'm really erring towards the side of caution. We don't know the battle that we're up against. I'm praying so hard that it will stabilize soon. And I'm doing offline also monitoring of what is happening to Meralco, being part of human resources. And hopefully, things will be so much better in the coming days.
Coach RG, other than your daily job, which is still part of Meralco, what keeps you busy in the past couple of months?
A lot of monitoring also what's going to happen to the basketball world. You know how deep we are in our preparations for 2023 as far as
Coach, isa sa
basketball ng
mga
Pilipinas is concerned.
I guess side effects.
Magu? I think napuputol yung connection ni Magu, Coach. You were talking about the preparations of the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas.
Yes, we've been in the thick of things, of course, from our chairman and VP to our president, Boss Al Panlilio, and executive director Sandy Barrios. We are talking to our friends from Japan, from Indonesia, of course, and also from FIBA on how we can continue to prepare for 2023. It's just around the corner. And aside from that, I've been having conversations also with Commissioner Willie Marshall on how to restart our PBA, because right now it's really hard because of the situation that we're in. So that is my function as an alternate governor for Meralco Bolts. And outside of basketball, I am in charge of rapid testing in Meralco for our return to work protocol, and it's been an excruciating job for us. Every time one employee turns out to be reactive, it just sends a lot of shockwave to the entire community.
Coach, talking about your role with Meralco, no, gaano kayo ka-proud dun sa mga nagtatrabaho under Meralco? Because they're also frontliners in this. With everyone being told to stay at home, syempre importante na lahat may kuryente sa mga bahay nila. And we know that, they are working hard to make sure that everyone is served.
And that is our battle cry, hashtag keeping the lights on. Whatever the circumstances are, bumahaman, bumagyuman, and now because of ECQ and all, we have our frontliners, of course, with complete PPE and whatever it takes for them to be protected. But that is our service to the general public. Yung malasakit namin para sa ating taong bayan, alam mo, minsan mawalan ka ng internet, okay pa yung tao eh. Pero pag mawalan ng kuryente, talagang galit na galit sila eh. So I know it's not easy. I also want to give credit where it is due. Yung mga linemen namin, yung mga proud people of networks. And that is just how it is. Life goes on. And again, the prayers that we're trying to do right now as part of our next few days is hopefully things will go back to normal. If it's not the normal, and then we will just be able to adapt to the new normal.
Coach RG, isa sa pinakamalaking tulong ng kumpanya ninyo ngayon sa buong sambayan ng Pilipino, pareho kami ni Carlo dito included, is hindi muna kayo naniningil sa Meralco. Maraming salamat doon. Kahit na medyo malaki yung mga susunod na bill dahil nagpatong-patong, pero at least ngayong walang pumapasok na pera, hindi din naman napapatay ang kuryente. Thank you, Coach.
Naramdaman din naman natin lahat ang hirap ng taong bayan at kasama yan sa itinataguyod namin ngayon. A little more understanding. There is a lot of shock brought about by yung tinatawag naming bill shock because of yung lumabas na billing statement that again just surprised a lot of people. But we are making the necessary steps to improve the way we do things. Nag-stop lang kasi talaga yung meter readers namin because of the situation. But as soon as things go back to a little bit on the normal side, then things will stabilize.
Speaking of the normal side, lumabas ngayon, a couple of hours ago sa balita, yung 17 mayors ng Metro Manila has already voted unanimously na June 1, starting June 1, GCQ na tayo, Coach RG. Shifting to basketball, what does this mean for us? Hindi lang yung PBA, but for Philippine basketball in general.
Well, for one, that shifting is really for the economy. I think it's about time for us to restart our economy. A lot of people jobless at this point. Some are getting hungry, but it is not a cause of joy for us in terms of stopping the spread of the virus. I think we are not out of the woods yet. We still have to be very, very careful in our interactions with our kababayan, our office mates, and all that. And as far as basketball is concerned, I want to see what the other countries are doing in terms of their preparation to go back to hosting again whatever spectacle it is, be it football, tennis, basketball. There are a couple of sports now na bumalik na at inaalaw na yung pagpapatuloy ng kanilang sport. But for basketball, wherein we are so much dependent on what the other countries are doing, specifically the NBA, it's always nice to use them as a template.
Coach RG, 140 people watching us right now. Batiin muna natin yung ilan sa kanila. Si Carlo Reyes, Brian Christian Bulan, Ernie Abarrientos, Wilson Centino, Sir PJ Pilares, Hannah Camille Miranda, Dr. Johan Wichico, Dominic Uy is watching with Boss Miguel Vea from Signal, with Mark Francis De Vera, Limuel Padua, Vilma Fabro Ragos Yap, si Michael Gomez, si Hael Pinat, My mom and dad, of course, as always, are watching with Patrick Cortez, si Ate Joanne. Natural Clerigo is watching with Julian Lapid and Benjo Sosing. Coach RG, maraming gustong makaalam about your journey in basketball. Of course, we all know where you are now, assistant governor in Meralco, and your involvement with the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas. But your coaching career, after, playing collegiate basketball, how did it start? Paano nakapag-umpisa bilang coach si Ryan Gregorio?
Teka. Bago mo pasagutin si Coach RG, pakidiin nga na naglaro sa UP. UAAP, talagang player po, hindi po katang-isip yun. Si RG ay isang player sa UAP.
And nobody believes in that. Thank you for emphasizing that, Magu. I was not gifted with the height necessary to be a basketball player. Up to now, 48 years after, I'm still vertically challenged. So, pag sinabi ko na naglaro ako sa UP Fighting Maroons, parang, oh, this guy is a dreamer. But but that is true. I played college basketball, and that was it. No PBL, no PBA to talk about. I knew all along that ang mahirap kasi when I was playing, nung inanalyze ko yung peripherals ko at tinignan ko kung sino yung maliit na nakasabayan ko, hindi pwedeng dalawa ang sikat. Isa lang. And obviously, si Johnny Abarientos yun. So when I sensed that, oops, I don't have a chance, then segue na ako. I took up mass communication in UP, major in film and audiovisual comm. And I thought that was my best ticket to join whatever team, be it in the UAAP, college ranks, or even in the PBA. So good thing, Coach Eric Altamirano, who was also from UP, my coach when I was playing in college intramurals, saw that there might be a slight opening for me to join his coaching staff as a video coordinator. So that was my story. It was a long time ago, way back 1997. I was probably fresh out of college. I was a third assistant coach for Pure Foods. Grabe star-studded yung coaching staff namin doon. Coach Frankie Lim was there, of course, Coach Eric Altamirano. Louis Alas was there also, and I was this young guy preparing the team, having sleepless nights because of splicing, editing tapes for scouting purposes.
Malinaw so Carlo. Bago pa magka-Coach Eric Spolstra also started as a video coordinator. Ginaya lang ni Spo si Coach.
Now, if we started way beyond or before 1997, then meron siyang bragging rights ron. But that is the reality. That is my story. That is the reason why I ended up in basketball. And as a head coach, I've been saying this to people. I am an accidental head coach. I was so happy to be an assistant coach, even for the rest of my life. I just wanted to be the best assistant coach ever. But in 2002, remember yung Selecta basketball team natin, yung RP team, hindi pagilas nun eh. So na-form yung RP team natin with Coach Jong with Chico as head coach. So part of that team, kinuha si Coach Eric as part of the coaching staff for 2 conferences to prepare for Busan. So pagtingin ng management ng Pure Foods sa bench doon sa coaching staff, walang nakita kundi ako. So ako ang natira. So obviously, it was a scary development for me. I didn't want to start off on the wrong foot. Obviously, I was not yet ripe to be a head coach. And what was enormous as far as my vision was concerned back then was how am I going to coach Alvin Patrimonio and Ronnie Magsanok? Yun ang mga idol ko eh. But it turned out to be positive. Sinuwerte nung konferensyang iyon, ika nga, and that opened the doors for me to coach in the PBA for a long time.
Mago? Ako na muna, Coach. Coach RG, going back to that conference, 2002 Governors Cup, it was a weird situation in the sense that some of the best players were pulled out of their respective teams. At naging dalawa yung import per squad. How important was it for you that you got two really good ones? Well, to start with, itong si Derek Brown, a proven import. How important was his contribution to that championship?
Oh, huge. Very, very big impact on our campaign. You're correct. We started with two imports. Derek Brown, a resident import of Pure Foods. I had nothing to do with him coming over. He was already playing great basketball for the franchise, so he just got another call-up. Tapos yung isa ron, si Leon White. He was a blue-collared worker, a tough defender, not really known to be an offensive weapon, but complemented the game of Derek Brown efficiently. But also take note that during that campaign, we lost three players to the national team. Andy Siegel, our starting center, was out, drafted by the Philippine team. Noy Castillo, our sharpshooter from the outside, also was part of that group. And our starting point guard, Boyet Fernandez. So we lost three mainstays, all part of the starting lineup. And we were stuck with a lot of role players led by Ray Evangelista, whom you always envision as the best role player in the league and should always be part of the conversation as probably the best sixth man if that is the case. And Alvin Patrimonio was still there, but obviously in the latter part of his career, even Ronnie Magsanok was there. But the two big guys in terms of contribution that really made a huge impact, number one was Kirby Raimundo, the kid who was by then just 20, 21 years old, and Roger Yap. Hindi ko talagang makalimutan si Roger noon. He was just a young rookie from Cebu, but played great basketball in that particular conference.
Coach RG, going back to that opportunity, that chance, what did it take for the veterans to buy into what you were trying to do with that team?
It was a gargantuan task as far as I was concerned back then, because my question was, Alvin at that time was a four-time MVP. And Ronnie was obviously a multi-titled player. And there is this guy, a 29-year-old assistant coach. How is he gonna follow instructions? And what does he know about the game? He didn't play the game. He has not coached even a barangay team. And what is he gonna teach us? But those questions did not come from them. It came from me. So I was really trying to motivate myself into answering my specific fears. Yung takot ko, tinatanong ko sa sarili ko, and that was also a clear strategy for me to address them specifically. Like the first one that I talked to was Alvin, and I told Alvin, Boss Cap, if I cannot win you over, there is no chance that I will be able to win this, guys. So I hope you give the kind of respect accorded to a head coach, not necessarily the person, but at least be responsible for the success of our team, because you are the face of the franchise. And Derek Brown, who was by then was simply exceptional in terms of basketball playing. And I also had to ask and request him to just be all in. It's not going to be a type of coaching wherein I will be a drill sergeant. No, I will just let you play, give your best, we'll work on our chemistry, and hopefully it will bring us wins. And that is exactly what happened.
And Coach, of course, you also had a replacement import in Kelvin Price. Siya yung naglaro in the latter part of that tournament for you. 2002, the Governor's Cup, you faced off against the Alaska Aces, of course, headed by Coach Tim Cone. A rookie coach going up against Coach Tim Cone. What did it feel like for you? How did you prepare for that particular finals matchup?
I was in awe. Obviously, Coach Tim Cone by that time also was an established coach, and he has won a lot of championships for that franchise. And here I am, a newbie, a new kid on the block, trying to even win one game in the finals. That is how I was just trying to position our team. Just don't be shut out. Wag lang ma 4-0. Ganun lang. Ganun lang. Simple lang yung aking simple lang yung aking mga pangarap eh. Sabi ko, I don't think I will be faulted by anyone. Pure Foods was such a popular team back then that the mere fact that we were back in the finals, I think I will be forgiven whatever happens in the finals. So that took away a lot of pressure off my shoulders. And not only that, it gave me so much confidence. But I looked at the situation and I told myself, if I were to think that I will beat Team Cone in this series, I will not stand a chance. No way. Not Ryan Gregorio against Team Cone. So my perspective was different. I was looking at his roster and checking at my roster too, and I told myself, maybe I have a chance because my players might be better than his players. So nung pumasok na sa isip ko yon that it's not gonna be a one-on-one coaching gig against the best. And by that time, I was telling myself, this is hindi pa na-coin yung GOAT. This guy is probably going to be the GOAT back in 2002. And now I was proven right. So there was respect. I never challenged him to a one-on-one, mano-a-mano coaching pagalingan. It was really, all right, we lost the first two games. And I thought, this is it. My worst fear. We're not going to win again. So on the third game, and it was so bad, the first two games really was no contest. And I was looking at the stats in game 3. Even our faithfuls probably lost hope.
Nabawasan ba, Coach? Nabawasan na.
Wala na talaga. I cannot see the crowd coming in. Dahil alam nila that it's probably going to be an easy walk along the park for the Alaska Aces that time. But lo and behold, things just happened. We found the right combination. We won 3 straight games. So looking at a 0-2 deficit, all of a sudden we're back after 5 games with a 3-2 advantage. Unfortunately, we lost game 6.
But fortunately, won game 7 and became, an assistant coach who was pushed into the spotlight and in your very first conference win a PBA championship.
That was magical. I don't think anybody could have written a better script. It was something that I prayed for, something that might be good even for the movies. Yun talaga kasi inclination ko eh. Gusto ko talaga maging director lang sa pelikula. Dahil hindi na ako pwedeng maging artista eh. So baka sakali director na lang. But yung game 7, that is where the fear came in. Looking at the history, Pure Foods that time has never won a game 7 match. And all the odds were stacked up against us. But this is the beauty of having a positive spirit and a positive mind. And I was telling myself, it might have happened before, but it doesn't mean that it's going to happen again. I mean, history in itself are meant to be rewritten. And we made a move that up to now, because uso eh. Di ba? Uso ngayon yung babalikan mo yung nakaraan dahil sa last dance eh. So that the time that I am stuck here in my house, thanks to YouTube, I was able to download Game 7 and I was surprised with a hat-trick. Can you imagine? We started Rey Evangelista at the point guard spot. He has never played that position in his life, and even in the entire conference, we never did that. So we started with the Ray Evangelista, we started with the tall team. Kirby Raimundo was there, the two imports, and another big guy. And that kind of threw Alaska off balance. So we were in complete control of the ball game. And up to now, I still cannot believe how that thing happened. Talagang meron pa rin
Coach,
goosebumps all over.
Coach, ito rin yung naging breakout conference ni Ray Evangelista, if I'm not mistaken, ano? And it must be satisfying na how many decades after, yung ganong klaseng sugal, sabi mo nga, napanood mo ulit sa YouTube, yung ganong klaseng sugal na nag-pay off, kakaiba lang talaga yung sa loobin mo dyan, ano?
And you just don't know who's going to step up when the number is called. Ray Evangelista, consummate gentleman. Again, I've said that earlier, one of the best guys on and off the basketball court. He knows his role. But what was most satisfying about that particular conference, it was not the best import award of Derek Brown, because almost everyone expected that. But for a role player to be the best player of the conference was simply amazing. And Ray Evangelista was able to achieve that feat.
Coach Ryan, bati muna ulit tayo sa mga dumagdag na nanonood. 170 people now watching. Ito, matutuwa ka na nanonood siya ngayon. Si Michael San Juan is watching.
Oh, Mike!
With Marlo Estrella, Francis Carrion, Coach Charlie D is watching with Jake Aberilla, Ray Basilio, RNJ Navarro, Elmer Joseph Sabud Coronel, Gilbert Castillo, JC De Guzman, Aaron Varias. Si Derek Rafi Romano is also watching with Val Alvin Jasme and Wilson Manangan.
Kung kay MSJ natuwa si Coach RG, eto maaasar si Coach RG. Kay Joan, natural, hindi daw bagay sa'yo may balbas at bigote.
Parati yung sinasabi.
Kinokontra ka na naman si Joan.
Parati yung sinasabi.
Kinokontra ka na naman eh.
Ano ngayon talaga, whatever floats your boat.
Coach Rai, again, that 2002 championship was one for the books, as you mentioned. But you were aided by the presence of two outstanding imports, si Price, si Derek Brown. In the Philippine Cup, as many coaches would say, yun yung pinakamahirap talaga na ipanalo among the three conferences of the PBA. Can you walk us through what happened in 2006? Kung anong klaseng kumpiyansa yung meron dun sa inyong koponan that went on to win it all in the Philippine Cup?
Well, it did not start in 2006. Right after 2002, we made the decision to rebuild the franchise in the post-Alvin Patrimonio era. So Alvin was just the continuous face of the franchise for the longest time. And I thought that it was time for us to go to a different direction, look for another guy who can be the new face. So it was hard. Again, I had to go through a lot of challenges, and the toughest, and I'm telling you, I've had a lot, but the biggest, the toughest, the scariest, the most painful was to see Alvin Patrimonio retire while I was the head coach. It was excruciatingly painful. I didn't want it to happen. It was during my time that he ended his Ironman streak too. So that paved the way for him to eventually say it's time to call it a day. But this is how great that franchise is, that Pure Foods franchise. They accorded Alvin Patrimonio and gave him the portfolio as a team manager. So from that time on up to now, is still doing tremendous things for the franchise, won a lot of championships. But again, the story did not start in 2006. We fought for our position under the sun again, meaning we had to take the right pieces to get to the promised land. James Yap was there. Definitely the best pick ever in that particular season.
Did you
And we picked
expect
at number
James
2.
Yap? Did you expect James Yap to fall to you at 2, or ina-expect mo iba na siguro baka mag number 1 si Kuya James?
I was hoping that James would fall on our lap. I was just dead set. I mean, this guy won a lot of personal awards in the UAAP wars, but never a championship. So the moment he steps in the PBA, you can just imagine how hungry that guy is. So we were able to draft him in 2004. We were still not a good team yet. Kirby Raimundo was already a mainstay. We traded for Mark Pingris. We got Paul Artadi at number 11. And who can forget a hat trick? I mean, nobody saw this, but PJ Simon out of nowhere from the free agency. Drafted, I think, in the 4th round, was all of a sudden available for us to join our team. So yun ang mga storya ron eh. Slowly but surely, we were able to get the right pieces that would bring us and make us relevant once again.
Kinekwento na rin ni PJ sa atin yun, no, Carlo, na napansin na rin niya, 2001 nga, he went really low in the draft. Tapos, nag-PBL na muna siya. Napapansin na raw niya na nandoon ka sa stands, the previous conference before you actually called him up. Siya na ba talaga yung target na ini-scout mo? Were you trying to figure out how he could fit your new team or your rebuilding team?
I was fortunate during that time that I was also covering yung PBL games. And he was playing for the rival team of the guys that I drafted. Well-coached noon eh. James, Paul, Jojo Tangkay, kompleto Ricardo yun. But here comes PJ, by his lonesome, playing for Fash, was unstoppable. And when I say unstoppable, the guy was legit. He comes off the pick, shoots the perimeter jumper. He runs in transition, gets the ball because of tremendous hands, finishes with impunity. Ganon kagaling yung bata. And this guy does not need a lot of shots to get points on the scoreboard. Ultra efficient guy. So nung nakita ko pwede ito, we inserted him in the roster. But not as a primary point of attack. You have to remember during that time, James was an up-and-coming superstar. Probably a superstar already by 2006 because that was the first time he won a championship. But remember, we still had Noy Castillo. Di ba? So yun ang mga nilalaro ni PJ na halinhinan. PJ was actually in our 3rd team. Paul Artadi was also in our 3rd team. So again, just to manifest and just to dramatize the kind of heart that PJ has, and I'm just so happy, 17 years in the PBA right now, I think he has decided to call it quits. That guy is one patient individual. There were times wherein we were just giving him 1 conference, 2 conferences, 1 year, and I'm sure he hated me. But what I was trying to develop in the guy, because he's just so used to playing 2nd, 3rd fiddle, was the strength as an individual to go through and fight adversities because he has to toughen up. And I revealed that a couple of days ago nung nag-usap-usap kami that was initiated by Paul Artadi. And I was telling them, now you'll understand there is a method to the madness.
Coach, so, was it difficult to get PJ? Were other coaches or teams trying to sign him up as well? Kasi PBA free agent eh. You won't have to give up any assets. Kukunin mo lang siya from the PBL. That was all there was to it. Did you have to compete against any other coaches during that time?
I don't think it was hard because ano yan eh, pag nasa free agency, ano yan eh, kumbaga sa agawan base yung una ako dyan. Parang ganon. So first come, first serve ang nangyari dyan kay PJ. So when we were able to finalize our deal, ayun, nagtuloy-tuloy na. But we had to go through a lot of rough patches also. It was not hard. There were times wherein I was telling myself, I understand how the business goes. We were not winning a lot of games, and I was just so thankful to three guys. And I've been so open and vocal about this. Alvin Patrimonio was always on my side. Governor Rene Pardo acted like my second father, telling me exactly to just keep on coaching. I will tell you when you are going to be fired. So he was that strict, and I appreciated him for that. And the other guy, and up to now, I still have so much respect, President Butch Alejo. So yung tatlong yon nurtured me, really handheld me, served as my crutches when I was struggling, and let me go when I was ready to be in the lion's den. Ika nga.
Coach RG, nakwento mo na yung James Yap, yung PJ Simon. Si Ping naman, what about Ping? Was it na talagang you knew you had to trade for this guy? You wanted this guy to be part of your squad?
His raw enthusiasm. That is where it all started. And we would always have a discussion on where he came from. This guy came from the school of hard knocks. And every time you see people like that, you know that they're going to fight to survive, put food on the table, and will always try to wiggle off from any challenges just to make sure that their head is above water. That is exactly what I saw in Mark Pingris. And I would always kid him, and there was a conversation, I don't know if he still remembers it, when he was still a live wire, meaning, and he acknowledges it, talaga nung araw yan, kung saan-saan ang utak niyan, mainitin ang ulo, neither here nor there. He was not really sure on where he is heading. And then now, a lot of years after, he would come to my house and tell me, together with his father, his real father, pumunta sila dito sa akin a few months ago to tell me, Coach, nung hindi ko pa nakikita yung tunay na tatay ko, ikaw ang nagsilbing parang tatay ko. So, I'm sure nobody would believe that because of the height discrepancy.
Yun nga sabihin ko, buti na lang di nagmana sa'yo sa height, no?
Yes.
Sabihin ko sana.
But from a coaching standpoint, and exactly the essentials that I was teaching my players before, this guy turned out to be a diamond. So that rough enthusiasm, that relentless spirit, but great, in fighting off adversities, were the very things that I knew would make him a successful person. Because if you can just rechannel or channel those negativities in his system and just focus on basketball, then great things will happen. He was a rebounding monster. That is one. The moment James Yap shoots that ball, Kirby Raimundo shoots from the perimeter, they knew all along that Ping was gonna be there to at least have an opportunity to get the offensive rebound. And for a shooter, you know that will increase your confidence level. So ganon meron si Pingris. And mayabang na tao, and I will say this positively, he had so much confidence in himself that he's the only one who can actually tell me in front of my face and say, Coach, pag magbintis kami ng free throw, wag kumunot yung noo mo. Nakakawalan ka ng kumpiyansa. So that is the kind of relationship that we had. But good thing, I am such a good sport that whenever my players say those things, I listen. I digest it and I process it. And I become a better person too. So, ganun kaganda yan. And when he tells me, kaya kong bumantay ng point guard, two guard, small forward, power forward, sentro, talagang tututuhanin niya yan. So, give him that platform, give him that avenue to really make things happen. and make sure that his promise will be achieved, then he will like you dahil nagtiwala ka sa kanya. So yun ang pinakamagandang mga istorya na nasi-share ko. I can only say, openly say it right now. Because, they turned out to be how I envisioned them to be. And it is such a great feeling for a basketball coach.
So yun yung big three nga ni Coach RG, no? Pero pinagkikwento na natin 2006, di ba, Carlo?
Yep.
2006, ito yung puro Red Bull yung kalaban mo, Coach RG. At may papakwento ako, sir, may tatanong ako sa'yo, matagal ko nang gustong tanong. Ito rin yung taon na after mag-best player of the game ni Kirby Raimundo, the kid back in those days, di ba yung siya yung magpipintura ng X do sa tapos kinuha yung microphone? Naalala mo ba ito, Coach RG, yung sinabi niyang, para sa akin, ako ang tunay na MVP. Ano yung, may mga side story ba doon sa loob ng kampo nyo, no? That, yun yung silang dalawa ni Enrico naglalaban talaga for BPC, di ba? Ano nangyayari, ano napapag-usapan nyo ng behind the scenes? Bakit lumabas yung ganong klaseng emosyon sa tingin mo?
Well, Kirby would agree and accept and acknowledge right now, knowing what he knows now, that probably should not have said that. It gave a lot of pressure on himself, and you know how things are. If you come out in the open, buti nga wala pa masyadong social media that time, di ba? But that is exactly how he felt, and I thought in my heart that is also how I felt. But I will not openly articulate it because I respect the person who won it. So may ganun mga play eh. Did I tell Kirby that what he did was wrong? No. Because if there is one mechanism that Kirby has and is very strong, it is conscience. He can self-correct. So alam ko na the moment you pounce it to Kirby and inculcate it in his system that he made a mistake, he might resent you. So there are times wherein there has to be a different take, wherein distance is a much better teacher than straight up in your face coaching. And that is how I understood my players. We've been together for so long that alam ko na the right buttons to press. And I am not saying that I am just a genius. No, it is because of the experiences that we've gone through, the tough times together, winning championships together. But I'm telling you, especially at this time that we're in, what is happening around the world, there is so much lessons learned in times of crisis. Because nobody's going to care when things are just so good. I mean, when things are so good, you look at yourself and you give yourself a pat on the back, but you don't learn anything. But when things are rough, you have to hurdle certain situations. That is where it stays in the mind for so long.
Well said, Coach RG. Of course, this all happened noong 2006 Fiesta Conference. Best player of the conference si Enrico Villanueva, best import si Markin Chandler, but you lost that final series against Red Bull. You did not have to wait long, though, for another shot at the championship against them. It happened right after in the Philippine Cup.
Remember that time you only played 2 conferences.
Yeah.
So Coach Sheng coined it so well that in that particular year, we were the best 2 franchises in the league. They won the first conference, we battled them, but unfortunately, we came up short. And the following conference, All Filipino Conference, it was payback time. But again, that particular conference was not at all smooth. I will still be able to interpret to you and to tell you exactly what transpired. That was the most harrowing experience that I've seen, losing a player because of an injury.
Yeah.
Remember that we lost Eugene Tejada, a guy who's all of a sudden making a name for himself in the PBA. Also was picked out of, I'm not sure whether it's via trade or the free agency, but we were able to give him an opportunity to play. And he was playing good basketball. I think the best conference that he has had. And to see him fall and not be able to come back was excruciating. It was painful. I didn't want to see it again. I don't want to see it again, not even to my worst enemy. That is how bad it is. It gives me trauma up to now. Right? But that fueled our fire to keep on going. So we went to the finals with one mission in mind. And remember that ET. That ET that we wore in that penultimate game was really dedicated for him. It actually meant two things. One is Eugene Tuhada, and the other one is End Tonight. So those are the side stories just to motivate our players back then. But another interesting note is that served as a validation for everyone. The first championship that we were able to get in 2002 was an introduction. The next one in 2006 was a validation, meaning we made the right moves. And the guy that I thought was the missing piece in our campaign back then was a certain guy, the big deal himself, who has won a lot of individual accolades, but never won a PBA championship. Jun Limpot. So towards the end of the finals, we were telling ourselves, this might be a good chance for us to win. We were already thinking about Papa Jun. Papa Jun finally might be able to win one. So that particular year, we wanted to get players who were willing to play with each other and play for each other. And our battle cry back then was, and our rallying point was, let's help Papa Jun. And lo and behold, that was his first and only championship in the PBA. And it's so nice that his name will not be with the likes of Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton.
Coach RG, you topped the elimination round during those competitions, headed straight to the semifinals. But I think hindi natatandaan ng lahat kung ano yung nangyari dun sa semifinals. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were down 3-1 against the Alaska Aces and Coach Tim Cone in that best-of-7 series.
I mean, it is obvious na, alam mo, iniiwasan ko yung topic na yun. Kasi,
talaga, Coach?
Talagang natatapat. Natatapat. You see, when I tell stories about certain individuals like players. But now that you opened it, again, not tapat we were down 3-1 in a best-of-7 series. We were losing our faith. Our confidence already was on an all-time low. Not a lot of teams have come back from a 3-1 deficit to win a best-of-7 series. And especially if you're up against Tim Cone. I remember him saying he was up 3-1 and he was interviewed. The series is not over yet. We have to land the plane one at a time. So he was hoping that at least in the next 3 games, he will land his plane safely. But something magical happened again. We won game 5 to extend the series. We won game 6 to forge a game 7. And we won game 7. And that is how beautiful that series turned out to be in the semifinals. And that paved the way for us to go to the finals and face Coach Cheng Yao's team.
Coach RG, you were down 3-1. Kuha niyo yung 5, kuha niyo yung 6. Game 7, everything's supposed to be even, di ba? Pero having just forced that Game 7, yung momentum, naramdaman mo bang nasa iyo na? Or parang nung 2002 pa rin nakabado ka papasok ng Game 7? O iba na kumpiyansa mo at that point?
Well, I've always said it, but some people will look at it as a cliche. I mean, it's great sound bites. People would always say, take away the statistics, throw away everything. It's the players who will win games. And believe it or not, it is true. It is the resolve of the players to really claw, scratch, and whatever it takes for them to win. Of course, You do less coaching in a game 7. You do more guiding. You do more clapping. You do more motivation. And it is not a formula. I think some people would do it differently. But I will never take the credit for winning a game 7 match. It will always be get good people, give good guidance, and get out of the way. That is how I coach a game 7 match.
Pero Coach RG, the GOAT coach, Coach Tim Cone, has been quoted as saying, ikaw daw ang pinakahirap siyang kalaban pagka series. He was, up to recently, I just forgot where I read it, pero sa'yo daw siya kontrapelo. Sabi ni Coach Tim Cone mismo yun.
Well, again, I will start with my initial statement the first time I met him. The only way I will have a chance, or our team will have a chance, if I position my mind into believing that in that particular series, I have better players than him. That is the only way. So that is my starting point. Now, the next point is, if I have done it before, maybe I can do it again. So those are the motivating features that I had in my system, just to make sure that we will have a chance. Okay. And the other thing is the unpredictability. One thing with Coach Tim Cone is he is such a master tactician. He knows exactly everything that is happening inside the basketball court. What you want to do is make him a little bit uncomfortable, meaning think out of the box, try to do different things, surprise him, things that he has not seen before, probably do it. It is very risky. It's a huge gamble, because if not communicated well, it might backfire, because that kind of a game plan might confuse your players before it confuses the enemy. Baka magulat. Di ba? Baka ang players mo ang magulantang eh. But history would tell us na it worked again. In the 2006, our back was really against the wall. But for some reason, we were able to fight through it.
Coach, nandun na rin tayo sa tema, no? You going up in the playoffs, your team against Coach Tim Cones, and of course, your final championship with the Pure Foods franchise would fittingly be up against him once again in the Philippine Cup finals. And it turned out to be one of the best performances, of your coaching career. Can you remember the things that led to that finals naman?
If I had an introduction in 2002, a validation in 2006, 2010 was vindication. I made horrible trades prior to that year. Unbelievable. Again, probably it is because of my mind working, that my mind never rests. And my wife would always tell me, and even my kids at times, Dad, I think you are undiagnosed ADHD. Because it is just so fast that sometimes I do things that I shouldn't be doing. But there is, again, a reason and logical explanation as to why I do certain things. And in that particular year, why I traded Ping. I traded Ping because I thought we needed a big guy. We needed a big guy because the opposition was starting to get bigger and heftier. So we did that move. But I told Ping, there is no way that this will end our friendship. This trade is purely a business trade, meaning you have to compartmentalize our relationship. This thing happened because I thought it's reasonable, it's logical. But when I see you and bump into you, make sure our relationship will still remain. And who knows, if there is one thing that I can tell you, never ever burn bridges. You just don't know when you're going to meet each other again. But unfortunately, the experiment didn't pan out. I was so pressured. Again, I was telling Coach Ronnie, pack up. I think it's coming. I think it's coming. That axe is about to fall. So I was so unstable prior to that particular conference that I knew all along that this business is so cutthroat that coaches can be fired even when they win games. So what more if you don't win games? It's automatic. We were not winning games. So I'll go back to the people that I mentioned again. Alvin Patrimonio, Rene Pardo, Butch Alejo. Gave me a chance again to, okay, let's see. And I was practically begging them that time without, obviously, hindi naman yung lumuluhod, but as if saying, boss, please rectify my mistake. Allow me to rectify my mistake. Get Mark Pingris back. Balik lang. Gawan nyo ng paraan. Get Mark Pingris back. That time, I also traded Paul Artadi. Balik na rin natin si Paul Artadi. And get these pieces. Medyo okay na kami nun eh. Kirby. Mayor Hoffer, we got at number 2. James Yap was still there. PJ Simon was super sub. We had a lot of big guys. John Dan Salvador. Don Aliado was also taken from a trade. KG Canileta. An incredible floor spacer, has improved this game and made things easier for big guys inside the paint. So, nangyari. Nabalik lahat ng Rafi Rivas was also there. So, I had no other reason but to perform. But I started my speech during that particular conference by apologize. I made a mistake. So I think that was the turning point. That was the turning point of our conference. That very first day, wherein I stood in front of my players, Ping coming back. We were hugging. We were just so elated that we were reunited, and telling people, telling the team, let's give it another chance. I mean, we would have won a lot of championships if I didn't break the team. And now going back to the composition and the value of Mark Pingris, I realized then, and you will realize this when you all of a sudden don't have a certain player in your locker room. Parang may gap, parang may vacuum. Ping is not just your best rebounder, defender, and whatever contribution that he has inside the basketball court. Ping is your best locker room player, a glue guy who definitely knows what leadership is all about, makes people laugh, and makes people turn serious. It is a skill. And it is an inborn skill complemented with the leadership of Kirby. And James was at his peak. So yun ang mga magandang nangyari ron prior to the conference.
Yung Pingris mo, parang siya yung naging, at that time, modern day Ray Evangelista mo na no? Your glue guy, your locker room guy, the guy who'll do anything, all the dirty work. Yun ba yung na-envision mong role din niya?
Yes. When nothing is happening defensively, you call 2 guys. Number 1 is Ping. Make it miserable for the opponent to at least score inside the paint. And the other guy is Paul. Guy coming off the bench, and I'm saying it in the most positive way, the guy's a major irritant. Talagang pag pumasok yan, may inis ang kalaban. So papasok yan pabugso-bugso, and incredible help for our team.
Pero meron ka ring legendaring kwento ni Paul eh. Pwede ba natin pagbiruan yun o off-air na lang?
Sige! I think we've become very, very close lately na appreciate na rin the things that I was telling him that he could not understand before. But now, since he is now in politics, na i-imbibe niya na lahat ng teachings. Ano yon?
So, totoo ba, Coach RG? Anong minsang, I think mga 2 o 3 laro mo nang hindi ginamit si Paul, biglang 4th quarter, tinawag mo, pasok ka. hindi yata nakatali sapatos. Lumipad yung sapatos niya. Nangyari ba to?
Well, I don't remember the circumstances behind it, but that is Paul. I mean, Paul is someone who has nothing in between. It's either you love him for what he is and you don't make him do things that he does not have. So yun din ang pagkakamali ko when I traded him. I wanted him to be a lights-out shooter like a Noy Castillo. But the guy is just a, kumbaga sa larong kalye, tapat-tapat eh. Minsan meron, minsan wala. Ay pag meron, lamang sa panalo. Pag wala, he can do a lot of other things. So, alam mo, it is so funny at times, but at the same time, gives me goosebumps the way we develop that camaraderie and chemistry. Kasi usually, yung mga players, pag tinrade mo, galit na sa'yo habang buhay. Di ba? But this guy is exactly understood. During that time, probably not yet. Pero now that we are more mature, pati yung mga rules ko nga sa team, pinagtatawa na nila eh. Because I had this thick na handbook that all the fines were there. Nandyan yan. You come in 1 minute late, you get fined $100. Because I thought during that time that if there is one thing that players hate, and people hate for that matter, is losing money.
Yeah.
So I don't have to venture into telling them one by one, pay the fine because you dropped an expected standard. So I was actually labeled as a very fine coach because you kept fined all the time. Fine sila.
Sinong pinakamalaki naging ambag during that time pagdating sa pagiging on time or late?
Nagkamali si Pingris eh. Nagkamali si Pingris na na-late siya minsan. So if you are coming in the first 4 minutes, okay pa yon, tolerable pa yon, because first minute 100, second minute 200, third minute 400, fourth minute 500. The moment pumasok na yung fifth minute or 4:01, okay, 1,500 ka na. Okay? Walang magpapaalala sa inyan. Ipapaalala sa iyan pag end of the conference. Because I always wanted them to be responsible. Meron lang tiga-check. Okay? Ang tiga-check namin, yung trainer namin, si Benji Palarca, late yan ha, wag mo i-remind. Meron pa kaming pulis. Ang pulis namin doon, si Roger Yap. Roger Yap na, coach, late si ano. Yan ang aking secret agent, si Roger Yap eh. Coach, late si ano. Sige, magpapaalala pare. Nakalimutan ni Ping. So what was like a 1,500 fine because of interest, umakyat ng mga over 12,000. Aray! So we were talking about it last time we spoke, and that was just quite a treat dahil yung maliit na fine na yun turned out to be a huge fine because you forgot. And hindi lamang yun. Paul Artadi would tell me now that even in San Juan, where he serves as a counselor, he comes in 30 minutes early. Ganon. And he switches off his cell phone. Because sa akin, there is nothing more irritating than when I am speaking, then all of a sudden tumunog yung phone. Talagang get out! Ganon talaga. And can you imagine a 5'6" guy telling a 6'7", 6'8" guy to get out? Wow. Puti, hindi ako tinapakan. So yun na ngayon pinagtatawa nila. The moment you step inside the basketball court, you should be wearing the same uniform. If not, you will be fined. And you step in, we practice, warm up pa lang, your shirt should be tucked in. Why? Because ang punto de vista ko ron is, pagpasok mo sa game, sasabihan ka pa ng referee na i-tuck in mo yung shirt mo. Why do you need to wait for the official to remind you on an expected standard? Di ba? Given na yun, it's your responsibility eh. As a basketball player.
Pati sa pagtayo o pagpila sa pagkanta ng lupang hinirang, meron din ka information, bawal din ang kumakalas-kalas, di ba?
Yes, and na-imbibe din nila yon. The moment you hear our national anthem, you drop everything, whatever you're doing, stay at the sidelines and look at where the flag is, put your right hand on your left chest, and let's sing our national anthem.
Dati kasi during those days, Carlo, lahat naman tayo, pag narinig mo lupang hinirang, titigil ka, and haharap ka sa flag. And every other team does the same. Pero mapapansin mo, yung Pure Foods ni Coach RG, lahat sila nakaisang line. Nowadays, almost every single PBA team does it. Pero dati sila RG lang yung gumagawa nun.
Now, Coach RG, just going back to that championship, nakwento mo nga that you found a way and your management found a way to get Paul Artadi back kasama si Mark Pingris. And then Paul played a huge part in winning that championship for you because he was your primary irritant against LA Tenorio playing for Alaska.
Yes. So I knew all along what I needed to be successful in that conference. I remember I was talking to a reporter. Hindi pa nagsisimula yung conference. Ang sinabi sa kanya, watch for this team. Watch for this team because this team can really go all the way. Part of it, of course, is my dream. And another part is, of course, I did not want to lose my job. So I needed to act confidently. But aside from that, remember we still had Roger Yap. Roger Yap, he comes inside the court. Somebody is scoring, whoever that person is, and I tell him, Jericho na bahala, he knows what to do. Meron ng kurot, meron ng hila ng t-shirts, bagsak ng shorts. That guy, I mean, is just a loyal soldier. And all our championships, magkasama kami niyan. So now you ask me, bakit mas malapit ako sa mga players na sa akin nagsimula? Because there is a deeper understanding. And I always tell them, guys, you have to remember, since day one, we are not only playing for wins and trophies. The biggest challenge in our lifetime is what you're going to end up with after your playing career. Ganon kalalim. So I struggled towards the latter part of my coaching career in the PBA because nawala na yung ganong mekanismo ng mga manlalaro. Ang mga manlalaro, umabot na sa roll the ball and play, coach. We don't need that crap. So, kaya naging super solid yung team namin because of other things more than the X and O's in the game.
So you that's when you made your move right after that championship, that third championship, Coach RG.
Right after he swept Tim Con. Kailangan mo sabihin, Magu.
Yun pala, sorry. Right after you brought out the broom, you make the move. That was a huge one. You were with the Pure Foods franchise for what seemed like forever. Kasama ka na rin sa lore ng Pure Foods. Lumipat ka sa Meralco after that. That was a new team. Arguably a new team na binubuo pa lang. What was the main reason why? May gusto kang buuing bago at that point? Or what was it really?
I just tuned out. I mean, from a coaching standpoint, I knew all along that it was not an intelligent basketball move. I mean, there was one team, a solid team that will win a lot of championships because made team already. And true enough, when Coach Tim Cone took over with the same core of players, a lot of adjustments, a lot of pieces coming in also. And of course, he is Tim Cone. They won a Grand Slam. But for me, I was telling myself, I started very young. Meaning at the age of 29, I was really so young then that kumbaga yung ibang facets ng buhay ko nawala because I was just so engrossed in basketball. So when the offer of Meralco came in, a 5-year guaranteed contract with corporate employment on day one, with an executive role and an assistant vice president title, I told myself, eventually I will venture into the corporate world. So nakita ko na rin yun. Why? Because during that time, I knew all along that if it's going to be too late for me to join the corporate jungle, baka masyado na akong late. Baka hindi na ako maka-adjust. And if I say no to basketball, and I had a 5-year contract, on my 4th year, I decided, because I was not winning anymore, and I was, again, I knew I knew how the business works. So I cannot win the desired number of games expected from us. Another coach will fare better. So I made that supreme sacrifice to say no to basketball momentarily, to start a new career path in the corporate level. Because that was a good opportunity, window of opportunity for me to start gathering the necessary experience and all that. And 6 years after, I've been detached from active coaching in the PBA for 6 years. I ended my coaching in 2014. It's now 2020. I never regretted my decision. But the key element right now is, will I still have the urge to go back to coaching? The answer is probably not yet now. But why not?
Pero hindi ka nakilite nung pagtulong mo sa Gilas. You are the special assistant to the president of the SBP. Pero nandun ka na ulit eh. Nasa mundo ka na ng basketball. Pag dumadalaw kami sa ensayo nyo sa Meralco Gym, I see you back in shorts, may pito na naman, and helping out Coach Yang. Yung kiliti na yon, hindi ba parang hinahata ka pabalik ulit?
I was actually testing it. Kung babalik talaga yung urge. But we are in a situation now wherein we can grow the sport of basketball to greater heights. We can just grow it. I mean, we are going to host 2023.
Yeah.
Our Gilas teams made it in the last 2 World Cups. So we are headed towards the right direction. So where can I be a great contributor? Because of my experience, because of my knowledge in the game, because of my ability to go to corporate sponsors and so on and so forth, probably to talk about what is necessary for us from a branding perspective to increase the value of our team. Probably it's me. So that is where my function as a special assistant to our president, Al Pandillo, will come into play. Gusto ko ngayon na federation-wide na yung contribution ko sa sport. So it is not just the PBA who will benefit from it. And from a little perspective, of course, accolades must be given to our chairman MVP, Boss Al Pandillo, our president, our executive director, Sonny Barrios. But at least in the just concluded Southeast Asian Games, look at our success in the 3 sports. 3-on-3 expected. 5-on-5 expected. We won medals. And our women's team, diba? So doon ngayon, yung concentration ko, be a contributor in my own little way to grow the sport. Not just men's basketball. 3-on-3 is definitely gaining so much traction. Women's basketball, we have to make sure that the momentum continues. So the excitement is there. Now, are we going to sustain it? That is the other question. Bad thing that this COVID happened, but we will all go back on our feet and say, let's do it once again.
Magu, balikan ko lang yung sagot ni Coach Ryan Gregorio about coaching.
Hindi sinagot eh.
Probably not yet.
Oh.
Probably not yet. So, let's just leave it there. I think it's a good way to answer that question because it is not closing doors, right, Coach Ryan?
It's not. This is all part of the omnibus game plan of Ryan Gregorio. Start with basketball, get to corporate. Let's see what happens right after. But right now, I'm telling you, I'm enjoying my function in Meralco. It's so nice to see people appreciate the kind of service that we do. I like what is happening also in SBP, our help to make sure that the sport is not stagnant. My function as an alternate governor to make sure also that the PBA will continue to be robust and continue to reach greater heights. And our job as commentators, you don't forget that. I love it so much because it functions as a basketball clinic on air. That is how I wire myself whenever I do games. I don't mind telling people the secrets of the trade. Life is about sharing. If a lot of people can gather and get a lot of insights to whatever I'm saying, I'm all for it.
Hanggang ngayon, yung sa pagiging commentator, kinikwento na ni Coach RG, madalas na high blood ka, or paminsan-minsan na high blood ka sa mga referee. Pag nagkakasalubong kayo sa likod, kumakamot ulo ba sa'yo, ref, na sorry coach, ganito, ganon, nagkamali lang?
Well, you look at players who make mistakes, they're gonna hear it from their coaches. You hear coaches make blunders. Most of them are accountable and say, I made a mistake and will never do that again. And they're gonna hear it from their owners. And the referees. The referees, and this is why I always say that they play an integral part, is it's hard to be a referee.
Oh, yeah.
But it's harder if you don't know how to communicate every time you officiate games. Remember that you are not just there as mere officials who will call infractions, who will call fouls. You are supposed to be educators of the game. So what I hate so much is the whistle is used as a bully instrument. Pag palapit na yung ref, palapit na yung player, at aangal na, nandiyan na si referee, gaganon. Op, technicalin kita. I hate that. And even for coaches, lalapit na yung coach, of course, not in an aggressive manner, non-threatening, of course, no profanities involved, but the referees will just blow the whistle and say, technical foul for using profane language. I will go to the referee and say, and even on air, that you really have to improve your craft. You really have to make sure that you go beyond merely officiating the game. You have to be educators. Now, if there are games wherein referees decide the ball game, that's part and parcel of the sport. It happens. Like I've won games because of referees making bum calls or making wrong calls and making good calls that will favor me. Nangyayari talaga yun. But what is unacceptable is for referees to say that tama yung ginawa ko even if it's obvious. Because accountability will always play a big role. If you cannot accept that you made a mistake, then there is no way that you can learn from that particular instance.
Coach Rai, there are comments on Facebook about a certain school and the playing in a certain league and the opportunity of coaching that particular squad. But we had this conversation once, and you told me that you never want to be a part of a conversation to enter a coaching job that is currently filled. Pag may coach pa dyan, wag nating pag-usapan yung pagpasok dyan because you also know how difficult it was being a head coach and then hearing murmurs of who were going to replace you or something like that.
It is just unfair. I mean, there is a reason why an individual is coaching, meaning he earned his stripes. Now, it is so much worse when you take out a coach after coaching a successful program. I mean, from a personal standpoint, it is fundamentally wrong. And what makes things worse is because of peer pressure, because of the community, you take out a certain coach because he was not able to bring it to the level of your expectations. Who are you? I mean, ganun talaga eh. And the moment you listen to the people in the stands, you will end up having a conversation with them on the stands. Doon ka na lang kasi nakikinig ka sa kanila eh. And this is precisely the reason why I am never active in social media. because I don't listen to people who really don't know who I am. You can actually critique me, Carlo. You can critique me, Magu, because you know me. But people from I don't know will never have an opportunity to judge me for who I am. So going back to that portfolio, that college portfolio, and I'm going to say this, I am endorsing with so much confidence that Coach Bo Perasol must continue to coach UP. He is the second best thing that ever happened to that program after Coach Jolly Pa. Now, it is up to him if he decides to call it a game. But right now, one finals appearance, one Final Four appearance. When the UAAP wars continue, he should be the coach of that team. Alam mo, minsan sa sobrang nood ko kay Stephen A. Smith, parang gano'n na rin ako magsalita.
Kulang pa ng konti, Coach. Kulang pa ng konting diin. Konting diin pa, Coach, pwede na.
Akala mo talaga credible eh. Parang...
Mas mabait ka, Coach. Mas mabait.
Coach, pasadaan lang na pabilis yung mga nagko-comment. Si Genesis Anthony Alvarez, si Marlo Estrella, si Jess Brugada, lahat nagko-comment tungkol dyan sa mic mo. Parapol mo naman daw.
Ano ba yan, Coach? Road? Road ba yan? Road?
Kakanta ako.
Yeah.
Oh, paman lang.
Road?
Well, it's actually the mic of my daughter. My daughter is studying in Ateneo. Kanya lahat to.
Good
so
choice.
Nakita
Good
ko lang
choice,
gandang
Good
props.
choice.
'Di ba? Gandang props nito ah. Pwede to ah.
Magamit
niya.
Communication coach, 'di ba? Communication
yes,
sa Ateneo,
yes.
'di ba? Great choice.
Gaidon pa pare, kaya medyo
super great choice.
Full support tayo diyan.
Di ako pumasa doon sa Gaidon, Coach. A few questions, Coach. Coming from Ed Joseph San Miguel, who was the best import that you coached?
Hands down, Derek Brown. I've always struggled getting imports because I don't think they understand that I know something about the game. Because the moment you see me, disadvantaged na ako eh. Diba? I remember one anecdote and I will never ever forget this since we just watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. He was not featured in the 10-part series, but the guy ended up to be my import. Chris Morris of the Utah Jazz. I picked him up from the airport. Dati kasi may ganun pa eh. Pick upin mo sa airport, di ba? Big name player, NBA eh. Di ba? So excited ako. Utah Jazz, nasa finals pa yung Utah Jazz eh. Bumabantay kay Jordan. So Chris Morris, dadating, sunduin ko yan. So pagdating ko sa airport, doon siya. Siyempre, cool eh. Di ba? NBA swagger eh. NBA bounce eh. So nagpakilala ako, my name is Ryan Gregorio, I'm the head coach of the team. So kamay-kamay lang siya. Siguro parang hindi niya narinig kasi groggy pa. So first day of practice, dating kami, pasok siya. Again, meron siyang home run bounce. Akala mo, kakahit lang ng home run. Dating siya, sabi niya sa akin, hey, who's the coach? Sabi sa akin gano'n. Nagpakilala na nga ako eh, di ba? Sabi ko, well, I'm Ryan Gregorio, I'm the head coach of this team. Get out of my face. Ganon. Talagang hindi naniwala. So sabi ko, well, okay, some people really have a hard time understanding, huh? So the first game, we lost the game, and he played so bad. And I talked to him, I said, I'm sending you home. Why? Sabi niya ganon, why? Because I am the coach. So it was not really a fruitful conference. He played like one game or two, and I'm not sure. But our relationship ended abruptly. So I really had a hard time getting imports. So that was a great anecdote.
Coach, si Lenny Cook sa'yo, di ba?
Yeah.
Lenny Cook was another star.
Sa'yo.
Yes.
How was he as good as the legend says he is?
Yes. I mean, you have to understand the start of the career of Lenny Cook to see exactly how devastating his story turned out to be. Remember, during those times, he was playing alongside Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, and they were all pitted against each other in that ABCD camp. So a lot of scouts came in, but that guy had no discipline. Meaning, the late Kobe Bryant talked to him in one practice and said, you have to play with dedication and discipline. And he blurted out by saying, I'll see you in the NBA. So ganun siya. So that was part of the documentary, the Lenny Cook documentary, that you can actually download. And it is a good story for individuals whose head is so much larger than their game. Okay, so he went to the Philippines, had an incredible ball game in his very first game. I think he scored 46 points. I was out of the country then because I wasn't attending a coaching seminar in the US. Coach Ronnie was the head coach back then. He was ultra athletic. We have not seen anything like it probably since Tony Harris and Billy Ray Bates. And the guy was just 19 years old. He had a huge chip on his shoulder, proving to everyone that it will just be a matter of time for me to be drafted or to be called up by a PBA team. In that particular story, he was never drafted. LeBron went out and be the LeBron James that he is right now. Carmelo Anthony came out and became Carmelo Anthony larger than life. But Lenny Cook turned out to be a story that you will all learn from in terms of humility.
Pang cautionary tale yung kinalabasan niya, no?
And is doing that right now. I mean, he's making the rounds in high schools, in colleges, and he is now Exhibit A. Don't follow me.
Oh.
Coach, some of our friends over at Facebook are telling us that Derek Brown is actually watching right now. He's watching the stream on Facebook. Yep. If you have I'm sure it's been a while since you talked to Derek Brown. Like, can you just recall how good he was during his stint in the PBA?
He was fantastic. He was second to none. The best import that I've ever handled. I mean, this guy is lights out, automatic. The moment you give him that ball, he knows what to do with it. And what was so inviting during the time that we were together was he played, I think, 2 conferences prior to him playing for our team. He was playing for Pure Foods then, but a different coach. So pagpunta niya sa amin, he was the best. I mean, back-to-back best import, if I'm not mistaken, but never won a championship. So he came to us fresh, meaning if he really wanted to win a PBA championship. And I was probably lucky that we jived early. We were just in sync. I mean, he comes in barely walking because of aches from every part of his body. But he was so professional that he will come to practice instead of giving us a call that I can't even go up in bed and go to practice. He would go there with excruciating pain just to be there. He will sit down first part of practice because we were doing drills. He will not join defensive drills. But once it's scrimmage time, he was up and about and ready to play. So this guy, and I was telling myself, he is just so skillful that you just roll the ball, he will grab the ball and he will play. And you don't have to coach him because he exactly knows what to do. The guy is complete. You give him the ball in fast break, he's going to score with impunity. He's going to slam that ball hard. He's going to score end ones. He's got so strong. He has gotten strong in that conference that he was unstoppable. He'll pull up for a jumper and it's automatic swoosh. He'll step back in the defense, sags a little bit, and shoot that 3. And more importantly, he was just a natural leader for us. He was so emotional. He would lead us in our prayers and he would say, Lord, thank you. And I still remember his prayer. Lord, thank you for giving us another day. I could barely get up from my bed, but thank you for giving me the strength to play this game. And I still vividly remember that. And it has stayed in my mind for the longest time.
And an important follow-up question to that, Coach, is pag sinuot mo yung shorts ni Derek Brown, Coach, siya naabot?
Probably sa floor, not even on my knees. It is that long. So it can double as shorts and a mop.
Coach, before we let you go, just one final question. Tinatanong namin lahat ng guests. Magu and I also had this discussion just a couple of days ago. If you could pick a starting lineup among the players that you coach in your illustrious coaching career in the PBA, what would your starting five look like?
Kirby Raimundo.
At the center spot?
Alvin Patrimonio. Mark Pingris. James Yap. Ronnie Magsanok.
Wow, Ronnie Magsanok at the point guard position.
Ito, pahirapan natin. Meron ka super sub tsaka may Ray Evangelista. Sino six-man mo ngayon? Isa lang pwede.
Ray Evangelista. But I will pick PJ Simon at number 7.
Coach, what was it like having Coach Ronnie Magsanok in that team? Because we all know that Coach Ronnie played his best basketball beside Benji Paras with Shell. Alam natin that yun yung isa sa mga pinakamagandang combinations that we've seen in the PBA. But what was it like having him in the latter part of his career, even winning a championship with him?
Again, you have to understand where our relationship emanated from. Coach Ronnie was actually my head coach when I was playing college basketball. Intramurals lang because I did not make my team in the first 3 years. So he was my childhood idol. He was 6 years older than me. He was already playing for the UP Fighting Maroons in college. I was still in high school. So can you imagine the time wherein ako na ang magko-coach? He bounced around the league after playing with Shell. He played for Santa Lucia.
Mm-hmm.
And the last team that he played for was Pure Foods. Coach Eric Altamirano actually got him to put stability and, of course, presence and leadership inside the basketball court. But tama ka eh. Towards the latter part of his career na yun eh. So what did we develop eventually? The guy knows exactly how to win. So when he was playing in 2002, I was the head coach. I used to tell him, and I'm not afraid to tell people this, I'll whisper to Coach Ronnie as if I was going to tell him what to do. But in reality, let it be known to everyone that I whispered to him things like, Coach Ronnie, ikaw na bahala. So ganun. So if I don't have answers anymore, Coach Ronnie would always have one. Based on, again, a bevy of things, experience, knowledge, intelligence, and being grounded. Yun ang maganda sa kanya eh. So when he thought the game, I am just if there is just one thing that I would have wanted him to take on is really to have a head coaching portfolio in the PBA, because he can definitely prove that his upper echelon in terms of playing is one of the best assistant coaches. I would have wanted him to take on a head coaching role. But he's just so happy being an assistant coach because he's more into player development. So the player development aspect is not just skill level. It is not just X and O's. It is not just how to shoot the free throw accurately or step out and shoot that 3-point shot 45, 48%. career-wise. Hindi lang yun. But he also knows how to get into the mind and into the hearts of his people. Kaya kami nag-jive eh. Ang sinasabi namin parati, pare, turuan natin itong mga players, hindi habang buhay player. So basketball playing, even if you played for 17, 18, 19, 20 years, it is just fleeting in terms of your total lifespan in this world. So what are you going to be right after your playing career? And that is where the elation comes into play. I saw my players who started with me get to a level of respectability and them telling me exactly, coach, you were this because of what you said. That is championship trophies for me.
Sa haba ng partnership nyo, coach, ano? From the Pure Foods franchise all the way to Meralco. And until now, inaantay mo na sana one of these days. Well, nag-head coach si Papa Rons. He was an NCAA champion pero iba yung PBA level, syempre.
Yes, nag-PBL, nag-champion din sa D-League, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a born winner. He's a born winner. And the challenge really is to convince him to be a head coach because he's just so happy teaching players.
Coach, we received a message from Derek Brown. Sabi niya, bless you much more, my brother forever, Coach Ryan. I love you, DB.
That's so nice, DB. Unbelievable respect I have for you, man. And you definitely, and I'm telling this to everyone listening to us, without you, it would not have been the same path that I took in basketball. That very first championship opened the doors for me.
And equally as important, pa-shout out daw si Nick Earnshaw, namimiss ka na daw, Coach.
Coach Nick, I just want to tell you, man, I have fortified my home ready for your shows.
Yun. Sana we wish Derek Brown had Zoom. We could have him on right now, but
yeah, I sent him a message on Facebook, hindi pa nagre-reply, but maybe one of these days makausap natin si Derek Brown and we'd love to pick his brain as well and talk to him about his PBA coaching career. Just Coach, we thank you so much for joining us. It has been a wonderful session with you. Just a message to all the basketball fans out there, just also waiting for the end of this situation that we are currently in.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Again, it's a dream come true for me. I've been waiting for this call-up, man. And,
first week ginagawa namin to, tinext kita, hindi ka sumagot. Nag-text ako sa'yo, Coach. May resibo ko.
Ganun ba? Well, thank you for having a platform like this one. I'm always open for people who want to listen to me and understand my complexities and my stories, and also an opportunity for me to take a lot of people, and I've thanked a lot of people all throughout this conversation. And another guy really that I want to thank and that started my coaching career, who believed in me from day one, Coach Eric Altamirano. He's really the guy who believed in me first before I even believed in myself. And of course, my family, my wife, Jin, and my two kids, Belle and Ramon, who's now so happy because they were so young when we were winning championships and they just could not understand. For them, when they were young, it was all noise. But now they're happy that at least 20 years after, their daddy is still relevant.
More than Coach RG. More than relevant.
Again, Coach RG, thank you so much for joining me and Magumar John. And we hope you stay safe and stay healthy. Regards to the entire family as well.
Hope to see you again, and God bless you.
And that is it for this episode of 2OT. We'll see you again next time.